Okay, hey, how we doing, everybody? I'm Rob. This is Alex.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
We're bringing you a sealed Monarch First Edition video from this past weekend, from pre-release weekend, on behalf of Channel Fireball. So yeah, we hope you guys enjoy this video, and we're gonna just have a chat here on what we thought of the weekend. Right, Alex?
Yeah, I think it was a really awesome weekend. Was super excited going into it. A bit drained after the weekend was over, but I had a great time. Saw a lot of great cards and had a lot of great games.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really cool too, seeing a lot of new players come out. A lot of players that maybe had played the game a couple times in the past, but not a whole lot of games. So it was really cool seeing, events, in-person events of 32, 44. A lot more than your traditional weekly armory event, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the community is growing at a pretty rapid pace, and especially for us, we started kind of, five or six people, and now seeing, like you said, 40 some odd people coming out, it's really exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we'll get right into it here. On your screen, what you see here is Alex and myself. I'm on the right. Alex is on the left here under our pictures, and we're just opening up our six sealed packs. It looks like I just opened up a Dimensional Crossroads. Pretty great card, from the experience throughout this weekend. Dimensional Crossroads seems like it's a really good card in limited. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that card certainly wreaks havoc the longer it's out on the field. I saw quite a few games go by where that thing just kind of took over the game.
Yeah, if you can get it down kind of early, and especially as chain, and then you just kind of really, I would say, be careful with your Soul Shackle tokens that you just don't burn yourself out. But I mean, if you can just deal your opponent arcane damage in a set where there's not a whole lot of arcane barrier, not arcane barrier, but this new spell void mechanic to kind of block arcane damage, I think that could be pretty huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I like here how I think this is like a common way of kind of going through your sealed pool is you kind of open all your cards here and you kind of sort them by either like type or like champion, or in this case we have two new talents. We have the shadow talents and the light talents. You have your generic piles, and then you kind of split it up by classes. So I think if you're, the first thing that you want to do to get through your pool is certainly sort everything out like that, and then you can have kind of a at a glance view of what your entire sealed pool is. Obviously, while you're opening packs, you want to keep in mind some of the kind of more powerful or stronger synergistic cards that you have, and sort of keep those in mind for when you're going towards the deck building.
Yeah, absolutely. What cards are you seeing in your pool so far in your packs that kind of really grabbed your attention? I think you wind up playing Bolton here, but just kind of like looking at the card pool here. What were some of the cards that may have stood out to you?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned this because in this video at the time, I'd say I wouldn't say quite clueless, but I felt like I was pretty clueless. There's a lot of text, there's a lot of stuff that even if you've gone through the spoiler season and you've really tried to read every card, you can't really prepare yourself unless you do kind of mock or simulated sealed events to kind of know what you're getting into and what you're doing. And then even further than that, it's sort of difficult without actually having played in against somebody who's also doing sort of the same sealed pool. So immediately now that I've gone through the whole weekend, there's a bunch of cards that kind of stand out to me that are some kind of really good cards. I like the Blinding Light that I could see down there. Bolton has some cool cards like the Valiant Charge, I believe is what the name of the card is. I see a
Oh
Glisten
yeah,
down there. Yeah,
yeah.
Glisten is cool.
Yeah,
Um,
that Valiant Charge is pretty cool. That's if you've charged this turn, I think it gains like +3 or +4 or something. It gets a buff.
mhm.
If you've charged, that's really cool. Oh, and we see a bolting blade go down right there. That's pretty sick. What were your thoughts on that card?
Yeah, that's another, I mean, really powerful card. You set that up in your arsenal, and then if you can get a turn where you can get like a take flight. Take flight is a card that if you charge again, go again. and then you play another card that has charge and somehow gets buffed, like the Valiant charge that we just talked about, then you can remove a card from your soul and give that go again. And then from your arsenal, kind of hit him with that bolting blade for 7, and that's free because you'll have double charged that turn. So
Oh
great
yeah.
card. Hmm.
Yeah, that's a huge card. To kind of piggyback off of what Alex was saying, a little bit, little few moments ago, we were kind of both clueless. At one point, Alex just is talking to me, and at one point, I just looked at him. I was like, "Dude, you got to stop talking to me. I'm trying to read these cards, and I can't think."
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I think first time opening again, even going through the entire spoiler season, I think it is a bit overwhelming kind of going through and opening up your sealed pool for the first time. Oh, look at that. You just pulled a legendary.
oh yeah, that
That's
was
gotta
sick.
it's gotta be really exciting there for you.
Yeah, that was really cool. I was kind of thrown off. I saw the spoilers and I knew 2 legendaries were actual cards that were played in the decks or whatnot. But yeah, at first glance, I was like kind of caught off guard. Like you said, just looking at brand new cards, and then I'm like, oh wait, this is cold foil and this is a legendary. So that was kind of cool. Unfortunately, the card is not really easily playable and sealed. I mean, I could see a world where you get a bunch of, what is it, Seeds of Agonies and Howl from Beyonds to try to get 6 Blood Debt cards played to be able to play Eclipse, but it seems really like very tough to get Eclipse played and sealed. Really dependent on your pool, I think, right?
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. I wasn't very high on the card going into sealed and limited. It's actually kind of funny. We had a draft the other night where uh, Eclipse went around the table, I think twice, and nobody played it because it's just like
Yeah.
super difficult to make it work in a limited format.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So looking at where I'm at right now in my pool, I'm definitely seeing that Dimensional Crossroads. I did get a Shadows of Blasphemit, I believe, which is a good brute card, pretty good brute card. But something that stuck out to me was the 6 block defense reaction, the Shadow defense reaction, right there on the screen. So that definitely pulled me into probably one of the shadow classes, and I wound up going with chain. I think what I was really drawn to is like the Seeds of Agony was really good. Bounding Demigon red is really solid. If you play Seeds of Agony and then go into Bounding Demigon, and then you go into something like Rip Through Reality, which gives you go again if you've dealt arcane damage, which is pretty solid. So there's some definite combos you can get going with chain, and something that I also really like about chain and limited is because you're banishing cards off the top of your deck. A lot of them synergize with the deck itself, and these blood deck cards in Shadow Runeblade have you can play them from banish. You're
Right.
essentially able to block with a couple cards from hand pretty effectively, and still have like a couple cards to play on your turn because you're able to play cards from this banish zone now, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I think you're really incentivized to do that. There's two points that you kind of brought up that I thought was interesting. One thing that we kind of glazed over is you have those time skippers down there. Now, as a person who's played the game for quite a while, I look at these boots and I'm like, wow, you pay 3 resources and you get 2 action points. That's like pretty sweet. This card actually ended up being rather underwhelming for me throughout the entire weekend of sealed, and I thought it was going to be a great card, but I just didn't. I wasn't high on the card after having played with it, even though going in, it just goes to show you how difficult like card evaluation is. And I thought it was going to be this great card, but it actually didn't end up being too powerful. And the other thing I wanted to say real quick is this is more of like a lore thing, specifically with Chain. So Chain has these soul shackles, and what happens is each turn is you're banishing cards off the top of your deck for however many soul shackles you have. So you kind of dance this fine line between can I kill my opponent before I sort of deck myself? And like decking is not a thing in Flesh and Blood, but it sort of is because if you have no deck left and your opponent still has cards, then they can just beat you down with their weapon or the last couple of attacks that they have, and you have nothing to block with. So I kind of equated that chain sort of banishing away his whole deck to him just kind of fading out of existence, sort of thing, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely like I like all the heroes in the new set. At first glance, I think Prism was really strong, and you know it's kind of like you have these attacks that cost one and they're swinging for 6 or 7. If you go against a Shadow Brute, you know you're probably going to get them broken, and that's probably Prism's weakness. But Prism just seemed kind of you know, I would say kind of a go-to if you didn't really know what you were doing with the set. But there's a lot of like archetypes and you know great cards in the set, and if you can just like get the card pool somewhat to really get some synergies going. I mean, in just being able to deal arcane damage from my standpoint in chain in sealed was really solid. I think. The card Spew Shadow is also really good. You know, sometimes you would run into as chain, you would banish a couple cards off the top of your deck that were generics that you really needed. And Spew Shadow, you know, would let you choose an attack action card with cost 2 or less on your banish zone, and then be able to play it. And then if it attacked, you know, a lot of these cards had you know, conditions where it was like if it's attacking a light hero, it gets +2. The 2 promos from the set that you could use in your seal pool were really cool. Sideboard cards, essentially, if you went against, you know, a hero of the other talent, like, you know, Light or Shadow. Eclipse Existence, you know, would let you like banish a card from their soul, which is pretty huge for the light heroes. I think you know a lot of their the way the deck plays out revolves around putting cards in the soul, charging, being able to you know for Prism banish one card from the soul and create like a Spectral Shield token. Same with like Bolton, like to give a card go again, you got to banish a card from the soul. So.
I, I was just gonna say, I noticed that you brought up a super awesome point. Don't want to lose that point because this is something in competitive play that I think a lot of new players just kind of get either stuck on or kind of just miss this point altogether. And you mentioned sideboarding. In a sealed pool, you have access to your entire pool throughout the entire event. It's not like you build your deck and you're kind of done. And it's especially important once your opponent reveals their hero, that you really kind of cater your game plan to like you know determine what you are in the matchup. Are you the aggressor? Are you the control deck? Are you the kind of mid-range deck? What are you trying to do? And so you brought up another point, which was like about Prism and going up against the Brute matchup. So what I noticed, because I played Prism and I did play against a couple of Brute players, and I you know turn one I lay down this you know beefy card swinging in for 6 or 7 and it feels great, and then they just block it with one card and you're like, oh wait, well now they have 3 cards in their hand and they can just have this really powerful turn. So immediately you have to kind of adapt around that situation. And what I found out about Prism was that in certain matchups she's definitely the aggressor, and in other matchups she's kind of like this stall class where if the Brute player is you know banishing all these cards from their graveyard to get buffs and to get go again and to do you know kind of the stuff that we know as Brute stuff, then it's Prism's job to sort of be on the defensive and to kind of stall your opponent out to a point where you know you chip in a little bit of damage here and there, and then you let the blood deck kind of take care of the rest of it, and you just sort of go on and survive it on your own.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that blood debt, you know, from chain especially, like if they can't get cards out of their banish zone, or if like you strip their hand and then they're just you know they're just taking blood debt, you know that could be pretty grave for them. I know with Brute, if you know they're taking blood debt if they can't get a 6 attack added to the banish zone. So I mean if you're leaving them with like one card that as an additional cost you have to banish 3 cards out of your graveyard, you know, and they can't even do that or pay for it or whatnot, you know, then they start taking blood debt damage, and that can definitely be pretty grave. But yeah, we're gonna take a quick little break and hear a word from Channel Fireball, and then we'll be right back and we'll continue the rest of this video.
Sounds good.
Need a way to re-spark the excitement in your TCG collection? Box breaks are the way to get your hands on cards from the games you love. Learn more today at cfbboxbreaks.com or check out CFB Box Breaks on YouTube.
All right, cool. Thanks so much. Yeah, we're back, guys. We're gonna finish talking about this sealed pool. Yeah. So what at this point, Alex? What are you thinking? You've opened up your 6 packs. What do you think that you're going into here at this point? I think you've evaluated your cards. You're kind of like looking through everything. With your steel pool here, what did you wind up going with, and what cards kind of like brought you into that class?
Yeah, so one thing that I do immediately is, like I said, I kind of separate everything out. Um, in a situation where I'm unfamiliar with what I'm kind of getting into, which is where I was at this point in the weekend, I kind of just split up all the cards and counted to see which ones I had the most of, which may not be the strongest or most competitive strategy, but when you don't really know what's going on and you haven't had an opportunity to physically play with some of these cards and really know what's going on, I think that's a good starting point, because then you can this is like allowing you for the most options. So I think at this point it's clear to me that I'm already sleeving up the weapons for Boltyn. I think I've made my choice and that I was going on Boltyn. And overall, like I'll say this, like I felt like my sealed pool was like kind of weak, and sort of revisiting after watching this video again, I still sort of agree with that statement. There's probably some, with a different set of different lens, I could probably have either made some different choices or had a better understanding of what my sealed pool uh, would have looked like. But the point is that at this point, yeah, we're on a time limit here. We have to build our decks. So what I tried to do was stick to the fundamentals of Flesh and Blood that I knew and loved, and so that's why I think I ended up on Boltyn. I think the Gallantry Gold there was a pretty awesome card in the deck. I would later learn that in the night. A card that I didn't actually like is one that's sitting on top of the Boltyn pile right there, which for the life of me I can't remember the name of it, but it's like it's like an Iron Song response, but you can only play it if you've charged.
Oh yeah, is that a courageous steel hand or something like that?
Oh right,
Yeah.
yeah. I believe it's something like that. Yeah, I actually didn't. Fun fact: I didn't end up playing that card the entire night.
Yeah, you just had it in the pool. Yeah, it's really tough.
Yeah.
Like, so you have to have charged, but I think it's a really strong really strong card,
Yep.
especially being an attack reaction, which I don't know if there's any other attack reactions other than this one and then the Beacon of Reality in this set. Um, but they
There,
do let you use them on not just a weapon, it's any attack, which is really strong. Previously in Welcome to Wraith, and in Dorinthia specifically, the other warrior, all of her attack reactions were contingent on targeting her weapon or Dawnblade, whatever
right.
weapon you would use. So I think it's really strong that you could in Boltyn, like you could just set up this nasty turn, right, where it's like you got a bunch of 3 attacks and then you use like stubby hammers. I think stubby hammers was like a solid equipment, and arms equipment in Boltyn for the weekend. It read, this destroy stubby hammers and your attack actions that cost 3 or less gain +1 on this chain or until end of turn. But it basically turns on Boltyn for everything that's 3 and less, which is really good to be able to give them go again.
Hmm.
And then if you played like a Express Lightning, yellow, I think would I think it swung for 3 and then off stubby hammers, like it would go to 4, and then you could give it go again and charge as an additional cost, which would then turn on that like courageous steel hand. Um, Also, another really good card. I don't know if I saw any here in your pool, but Via the Vanguard was like, if you got 2 Via the Vanguards, you were playing Boltyn because that card is like solid. If you can get that in Arsenal or another card in Arsenal that you're gonna play, you can like pitch a blue Um, just via the Vanguard, charge 2 cards or charge 1 card if you already got a couple cards in your soul. And then you can just have this super wide turn that's threatening like 20 something damage. And it really, like, you're talking about stripping hands out from the other player. I mean, you take like almost the whole hand, or you're definitely getting tempo with Via the Vanguard. Really strong, and it's at rare, which is really cool to see. Such a staple in Bolton not be like at majestic rarity.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny that you mentioned that. I didn't get Via the Vanguard tonight in this pool, but I did end up getting it later on in the weekend, and I did have a 20 plus damage turn. That was just bonkers.
It's just
Really,
bonkers.
really good card.
Yeah, I mean, think about like you bust stubby hammers, right? Or you don't even need to bust stubby hammers, if you don't want to. But if you do have stubby hammers, you break stubby hammers, and then you play Via the Vanguard, so that gets buffed off that, and then you charge whatever as an additional cost to play Via the Vanguard. Then you go into like a red um, overload, which costs 0. It costs 3. It attacks for 3. It's got dominate, and then if it hits, it gets go again. So you don't even have to use Bolton's ability because it's gonna get
Right.
the buff off of how many cards you charged off Via the Vanguard, and then usually like in this set especially, um, cards block for 3. Unless you grabbed either the light or shadow defense reaction. There is one card specifically that gets around dominate, and we'll talk about that now. And that was Rally the Rear Guard. Really,
Awesome card.
yeah, the red especially was really strong. Attack value of 6, blocks for 2. I think the card cost 2, but it brought into this new kind of mechanic in ruling for turns where you declare your blocker, and then now each player get a react like not a reaction, but they get priority to play instants.
Yep.
So then you can block with Rally the Rear Guard, and it says if it's blocking, you could discard a card at instant speed, basically. And it says instant, discard a card, and then Rally the Rear Guard gets +3, so it would bring it up to 5, which is huge. It gets around dominate. It lets you cycle those cards that don't block, like in Shadow Brood or some of the other cards in Prism, for example. The cards that
Yep.
just have no block value, which was really cool.
Yeah, some of the auras. There's another interesting interaction too in that same vein is the blinding light, which first night I kind of had like it was only a little bit on my radar, and then throughout the weekend this card just got higher and higher for me in evaluation, and I just really love the card. So same situation, it's an instant. You can get around dominate. You can certainly catch your opponent kind of in a combat tricky situation where they think they're going to do a certain amount of damage, and then you blinding light to reduce that damage. You can certainly blow out a Bolton if you're a Prism player and your opponent throws down a card that has a 6 attack and they're getting ready to kill your Phantasm. Then you can lower the attack of that and then just blow them out that way as well. So that card has been quite an all-star, and just only as the weekend progressed kind of went higher and higher in my evaluations for that card. Really like that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Another generic we'll kind of touch on here, and I think you can attest to this because we wound up playing each other in this tournament. I think in either top 8 or the last round before top 8, and that was pound for a pound or pound for pound. Really good card. Strong in Bolton because of the you just manage your life. If you have less life, then it gets like gets plus something, right? And
It
dominate
gains
or
it gains dominate. It doesn't get an
got
attack
it.
buff, but it gains dominate, which in itself is like enough. If you have the red one, I think the red one tries to come in for 6 if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yep. for
And
6.
yeah, and just giving that card dominate is really rough, especially against Bolton. I feel like Bolton is one of the few heroes in the set that has a lot of 2 defense value cards,
Oh
and all
yeah.
of the generics are kind of in that same situation where they have 2 defense value. So that card is just very back. I think that's actually how you end up taking the game from me, was hitting me with that one.
Yeah. I think if I recall correctly, I went down to 1 and you were at 2 life. And then I came back and I swung with a pound for pound yellow in Arsenal.
Yeah. Yep.
And like you said, even if you have a 3 block, it's just hard to survive that dominate
Yep.
turn. So there's a lot of great utility, but yeah, you'll see here we're gonna start moving into assembling like our final deck builds that we played. It looks like you got a couple adrenaline rushes, you got a brandish. Those were pretty strong cards. Another one we didn't talk about is the belittle minnowism combo. That was really strong. What were your thoughts on that combo?
Yeah, so I actually, Belittle Minnowism was on my radar from day one, and if my deck could support it, I would jam it, and I jammed it the entire weekend. It's just one of these situations where the card comes in for either 1, 2, or 3 blue, yellow, red, and then if you reveal a card with 3 or less attack from your hand, you go and find the Minnowism, and if it's a blue Minnowism, it pumps for 1. If it's yellow, it pumps for 2, and if it's red, it pumps for 3. And so, depending on which one you played, or if you got multiple of them, depending on what situation or what place you were in the game, was kind of how you determine which one you'd get. So, if you needed more resources for the turn, you can go get a blue one or a yellow one. If you kind of needed to pump your attack to give, like if you're on Bolton, to give yourself go again by removing something from your hero's soul, you can go get like the red one or the yellow one as well. And then, I mean, that just feels great. So, really, really high on that particular card combo. And if you got it in your pool, I think it was a pretty easy include, at least for the light heroes. Maybe not super great for like the brute, but I think either way, you're kind of getting some real card advantage out of that, where you gain go again and you just get another card for pitching.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely some cool little utility in this set for sure. I see that you chose a couple adrenaline rushes, which are great in Bolton because they turn on Bolton's ability to be able to give them go again if you manage your life. A couple 3 attacks. You had a good amount of light cards. It looks like. But yeah, they're right there on the bottom. We see that belittle minnowism combo, which
Yeah,
is pretty sweet.
absolutely.
Yeah, looking at my pool here, just kind of laying out the deck. I really tried to build around that dimensional crossroads, and the seeds of agony were huge. Being able to just deal arcane damage, they have go again. They don't cost anything, cost 0, so you can just get them out of your banish zone. The defense reaction was huge. I got some pretty good equipment. I played stubby hammers, which was pretty solid. Had a couple. I think I had 2 red rally the rear guards, a red overload. Um, Looks like maybe a red stony Wootenhog. I'm not sure if that's the card there, but also another good generic. I did play a couple Memorial Grounds. My thoughts behind that was to put some attack actions back on top that maybe I wanted to get back with Chain to get them banished at the beginning of my turn. But Rip Through Reality was really good for me. That's in the center. Really like that card, especially with Bounding Demigon. And then the Spew Shadows are up on the top. Those let me get the Rally of the Rear Guards back to play them. And yeah, I mean, I think I did pretty good. I think I got like 3rd place or something in this event, and then yeah, so it was pretty good. It was nice because it was spread out. How'd you do in this event? I wasn't 100% sure.
I think I bubbled right off of top 8.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah, I
that's
think
right.
the opponent that I had like a draw, and I got a down pair, and then I forget how the game ended up, but I know I ended up losing there. Definitely learned a lot just from that event alone. Um, you know, really just kind of want to focus on seeing what was out there, seeing how things sort of played out, and I think I learned a lot. The next couple events that I played in, I did significantly better because I had a better feel for, what was going on and what people were trying to do. Definitely think bringing it back to your Stony Wootenhog comment, that card was, I was not very high on the card on day one, and then that was another card that I just progressively went higher and higher on throughout the weekend. That card was super awesome.
Yeah,
The red one
absolutely.
comes in for 7 if you're not blocking with anything. So turns on a lot of turns on Bolton. It it breaks phantasms. It's pretty rough, even if you're playing against like Brute, which is swinging for a huge amount of damage too.
Yeah.
So, really
Very
good
cool.
card.
Well, I don't mean to cut you off, but the video's ending here, so I just want to give a nice shout out to Channel Fireball for having us. I'm Rob, and this is Alex, and we're part of Tolarian Dropouts. Definitely check out our YouTube channel, and we're gonna try to bring some competitive content and some competitive gameplay to you guys in the near future. Probably next week we're gonna get some actual gameplay from these sealed events. What do you think about that, Alex? You think you're pretty excited to get some gameplay going?
Yeah, definitely excited to get some gameplay, and really looking forward to that stuff coming up.
All right, cool. Well, take care, guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye bye.